You guys have, you guys have already been meditating, so you're probably in the zone, but we're going to get back into the zone. So who wants to say what the seven areas to check when you sit with your posture? Somebody want to volunteer? Nobody?
Shoulders, head and neck, back, tongue, legs, and the hands.
Eyes.
So, you know, it's really a good, I mean, I find it useful if you sit logically, if you think about it logically. The very first thing that you're doing is not your hands. Is it? The very first thing you're doing is establishing your base. So you think about your base and how is your base? So your base is, if you're in a chair, then your feet should be flat on the floor. And if you're on the floor, then you should find some comfortable cross-leg position like that. Then if you build your posture up, then it makes a little bit more sense. So you start with, it's not that there's anything wrong with what Anthony did, but in terms of remembering the 7 points, it's just logical. Sorry?
Go ahead.
No, you had something to say.
I was trying to sort of in my head to say what you were saying, which we start with the legs then.
Well, I mean, for me, that's it's common sense. I mean, like, so you're going to establish your motivation, and what are you going to do? Just start with your eyes. You know, you're going to you're sitting down to take the posture. So the very first thing you do with your body is your buttocks. It's the very first thing you do. You put your buttocks someplace. So now let's make sure that the buttocks is in a position that's going to be conducive for the meditation. So again, if you're on a chair, then you find a comfortable cross-leg position. And if you're on the floor, then if you're on the chair, your feet are flat on the floor. And if you're if you're on the floor, then you find a comfortable cross-leg position. And there's three cross-leg positions. One is the full lotus, one is the half lotus, and one is just, I don't know if it's if it's politically correct to call it the Indian style. We used to call it Indian style, but that might not be kosher anymore. But you know what I mean by that.
Kosher may not be kosher.
Oh, gosh. Heavens to Betsy.
Ankles crossed.
Don't worry about it, Jeff.
Okay, so anyway, like this, you know? And again, what's really useful when you're setting up your posture is to just think about it as common sense. Now, when you get into doing more advanced meditations, there is really big reason for these, because if you're doing an advanced meditation, then you could sit for hours, and you want to have a really firm base, which is why the full lotus is the firmest of bases for your body. And if you're like that, if you're still flexible enough, you can try sitting full lotus for a short amount of time and then go into something that's more comfortable. But okay, so it makes sense that you've got your firm position for your body, and then you put your hands in your lap, the left on the bottom and the right on the top, and then your fingers are aligned, and your thumbs come together naturally into a triangle. And what that does is it forms this nice little cup like this. It's not flat. I mean, there are a lot of different postures. You can see people who will sit with their hands on their knees and they'll have the Om sign. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but what we're learning here is the traditional Tibetan procedures, and this is what is done in the Tibetan procedures. So hands on the lap, left on the bottom, right on the top, fingers aligned, palms cupped, and it brings your thumbs together naturally into a triangle.
Some statues or figures, I see thumbs overlapping. Have you seen that?
Well, I don't know, and some statues are not correct. It depends on the people, but there could also be meanings that I'm not familiar with. But the reason why they touch is, well, you know what? This is my feeling about the posture. It's like keeping all your energy together. So you've got this nice circle with your legs, and you've got this nice circle with your hands. And it's like plugging yourself into, your energy into each other. And I really like that visualization. So like that. So that's the hands. And then there is an energy point at the navel. There is an energy point. So when you put your thumbs at approximately the navel level, that's useful in terms of the energy. And then as Anthony was saying, the spine. So of all of the things, it's the most important because the energies of the body flow through they flow through the winds. And remember we did, and we're going to do this now. Remember there's 3 channels, right? There's 3 channels, and the winds of the body flow through the channels. So if you're like this, it's like taking an electric wire and bending it. You've ever had that happen? Or a hose outside, you've got a garden hose and it gets bent like that, and then the water can't go through it. So it's the same thing with your shoulders and your spine. You want your spine straight, but of course we don't want it rigid. So that's where watching the hands comes into play. Because if you find your hands have gone like this, probably you're gritting your teeth and you're really stressed. But if you find that your hands have fallen apart, probably your shoulders have rolled in around your mouth, and you're probably asleep. So you all of this is keeping your body in a nice neutral position so the energy flows and you can stay awake. So the spine should be straight but not rigid. And how I introduce this is something that's meaningful for me, is to see the vertebrae, visualize them as golden coins, not as a rod. Because if it's a rod, then it's going to be rigid. It's going to have no flexibility to it. So if you visualize the vertebrae as golden coins, that means for our purposes, they're stacked nicely and neatly, one on top of the other. But it means that there's some movement to it. So it's not solid. And the reason why I say golden coins is because we can get very heavy with our visualizations. We can get heavy with ourselves. So if you put gold, if you put light into your visualization, into your body, it just is helpful. Remember we talked about that you can be distracted and you can be sluggish when you meditate. And and you all got that sheet, right? I asked the sheet, you all got the sheet about okay. So one of the things is to insert light, to open, if you happen to be falling asleep, open your eyes, let some light in, remind yourself you've got golden coins in here, get your posture back on. These are just tricks so that you don't listen to your mind when it's saying, give up. You set yourself a time limit, you know what you're going to do and you're not giving up. So these are little tricks that you use. Okay, so then the shoulders are back and down. And for me, really good, that what I just said, the shoulders are back and down and directly over the hips. So now you've got your ideal posture. This is it. And then again, now the head slightly forward. What this does is it casts your vision down towards the floor. But you don't want to be distracted by anything, so you defocus. And and you lower your eyelids, but you don't want to fall asleep. So you don't lower your eyelids all the way. You leave a slit of light. And the slit of light is like, if you were to turn these blinds and you didn't want it totally dark, you would leave a little slit of light. I think the kind, remember the old kind that you used to bring down like this, and then if you let go, it'd snap back up. So that one, you bring it down, then you bring down your eyelids and you leave this little bit of light, and that light is to keep the nervous system alert, like that. And then the tongue is on the upper palate behind the front teeth. The lips are lightly closed and the jaw is loosely opened. So this is your ideal meditation posture. And initially we don't like it because it's new. And we want to lay down, we want to hold our hands differently. We want to, and we have all sorts of different ideas from seeing meditation on TV, etc. But this is a very good posture. And as I've indicated, if you practice your meditation regularly and you hold your posture when you're doing your meditation, then one day you will sit down to meditate, you'll go into your posture and you'll find your mind is right there with you, because it's got the experience of this relief that comes when you're sitting with your posture, and the mind becomes more compliant and more subtle. So let me know when that day comes for you, because that's really beautiful. It's truly beautiful when that happens, when you get that experience that the mind automatically becomes more subtle, more pliable when you take the meditation posture because of association. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start with doing the 9-round breathing. So have people practiced the 9-round breathing? Anybody?
Mhm.
Okay, and any feedback on it?
It helps me settle down.
Yeah.
I still before my speeches. Oh.
Awesome. That's awesome. So that's a really good testimonial. So so what I mean, you may not all be going to give a speech, but you've all got doctor's appointments, or you had to see the tax man, or the tax man right there. Or do something that could potentially be a little bit stressful. Or some people have high blood pressure problems. So these meditations that are aimed at calming the mind will be very helpful even at the physical level. And particularly the 9-round breathing. Of course, for me, numero uno is the breathing meditation. That's numero uno. But the nice thing about the 9-round breathing is that if the mind is even a little bit too rambunctious for the breathing meditation, for the stabilizing meditation, engaging in the 9-round breathing is physical. It involves being physical. And so therefore, you're engaged, and it's a little bit easier to capture the mind. But so this is where you have to become your own, Lama Yeshe calls it your own psychologist, because we're learning a medicine cabinet full of meditations in this class. And you have to learn them, and then you pull them out as you need them, as they work, as the situation requires. So let's say you have to go in for a medical test. A lot of people's blood pressure goes up when they have to see a doctor. It's called the white coat syndrome. And if they take your blood pressure in the doctor's office, it can be high. They can take it when you leave the doctor's office, and it can go back down again. But let's say you do like Anthony does, where he does the 9-round breathing before he does his talks. So you sit in your car and do the 9-round breathing. And even if you don't want people seeing you, closing your nose, at least you can do the visualization, because it's about the visualization. And this just helps you be a little bit more settled because you're engaging the body like that. Does that make sense? Okay.
I found it easier to just do the visualization.
Of it?
Yeah, without it's hard for me to do the physical thing.
Well, try it. Try it. See, I understand, but try it, because again, why it's hard is because it's not familiar to you. So it's good to become, because this is a Lama Yeshe dumbed down version of a high esoteric meditation. And they do actually hold the nostrils. And I mean, it's yes, I agree with you. And certainly if you're in a waiting room, that might be a bit bizarre and use the visualization. But when you're at home, try to do it, to become familiar with it like that. and see. Just give it a fair shot. And I was going to say something to address a conversation Mark and I were having. So the very first meditation course I went to, I've talked about it before. It was 1 week long, and I hated every minute of it, and I could hardly wait to go home. And the meditation that was introduced was the stabilizing meditation, where you watch your breath, where it goes in and out. So I tried it a little bit, and then I went to the teacher and I said, that meditation doesn't work. I want a new one. And the teacher very kindly said, you don't work. So sit down and keep going. And that's when I made the commitment to do it for 1 year, for 20 minutes. I don't recommend 20 minutes, but I made the commitment to do just the stabilizing meditation for 20 minutes a day for 1 year. 20 minutes is really zealous. Do something a little bit more realistic. But you've got to do that.
I hope you don't think I said that.
Huh?
I hope you don't think I said that, don't you?
Said
I
what?
didn't say it didn't work.
No. But our talking
Yeah.
made me want to say
Oh,
that the value of the meditation comes from repetition. But it's like anything that you want to be successful with. You can't just dabble. I mean, we watch these athletes. They're just not weekend hobbyists. They've dedicated their life to something that I question whether it's going to have, but meditation, if you devote yourself to meditation, you will see results that will help you in this life, will help you at death. If you have a chance to volunteer at hospice, you'll see there's a lot of people when they die, they don't die easily. And that's not good. That's your last experience being one of Velcro, having a hard time with the process. So you need to make a determination that this is interesting for you. And then you have to see for yourself if it is or it isn't. And you can't see if it is or it isn't if you don't give it a fair shot. So you need to practice it. And then you can say whether it worked or not. And then the other thing is when you decide to meditate, you need to stay on that meditation. So we've been introduced to a number of different meditations today. In the last 3 weeks, now the 4th week. And when you sit down to meditate, you want to stay truthful to the one that you've decided to do. You don't get a few minutes into one and then say, oops, I think I'll jump over to this one. You want to stay truthful to whatever it is you've decided to do, like that. Because we're talking about developing stability of mind, not a flea-like mind. If you've ever seen a flea, he has no idea where he's going. Well, maybe he does, but I don't see any pattern when a flea flits around. Better to be a louse. A louse goes nice and slowly in the same direction. Okay. Be a louse. It never dawned on me that word lousy came from lice.
What did your teacher teach you today? Oh, she told us to be a louse.
Be lousy.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, so we're going to practice the 9-round breathing right now since we were talking about it. But any questions about this? I know we're going back to the basics, but these basics are really important. And so I want to stress the basics because we only have one class left. Now, I was really happy to hear that Anthony led you in Make the Mind Like the Sky. Did you do that today? There's this half-hour period every Sunday to use these meditations, and Anthony, it might be a good idea to give people who've been around a while a guest spot. I think if you asked some people, they might agree. Is that right? Would some people agree if they were asked?
I am being put on the spot.
Oh, I was just sort of looking in your direction, but I think it's people that have been around a while, and the reason why is because Lama Yeshe said this. He said, I ask you to do something, not because I think you can, but because I want you to be able to do it. Isn't it beautiful?
That is beautiful.
Because it means that, if the first time you lead a meditation, I mean, I remember the first time I was asked to lead a meditation, I went, ooh, I thought they were talking to somebody behind me. And I looked around like that. But, if you're asked to lead a meditation, then to get ready to lead them, do you just all of a sudden wake up and brush your teeth and eat your breakfast and without thinking come in here and lead the meditation?
No, I typically think about which one beforehand and then I read through it.
Yeah. So it requires to lead a meditation requires preparation. And that preparation is so that you can be helpful to others. And it's a really big responsibility, but that's how you grow, is by doing that. And then you learn the meditation as well. So it's something to consider, since we have it's a nice family, and to consider giving people a try. And Patty had asked about meditation 102. Well, in that class, in order to get your certificate in that class, you had to lead a meditation. And people were very nervous, but they did it. And that I was really, Steve, did you lead a meditation?
Once.
Yeah,
like
I
to do that
remember.
again,
Yeah.
like that.
Okay, so sorry about that, but I want your feet to be really, I want your basis to be really strong with this, so that you're confident and comfortable on your own. So take your posture and check it off. And if you want to, when you're at home, put the posture on your table to make sure you don't forget something. So just take a minute to focus your attention on your breathing. And we've learned the technique for counting the breaths, so use that. And then you want to set your motivation. And you want to make your motivation as altruistic as possible. I always find it's useful to start right where you are. If you've got a personal problem, even something just like a headache, you can start right where you are. Or if you've got some emotional concerns, some bad habits, you can start there, wherever you are. And then you want to take it up a bit and start thinking about how wonderful it would be if you could engage in this meditation and resolve your problems, and then be of better benefit for others. You can be a wiser and kinder and happier person. So just take a moment and use your own words to establish this kind of meditation, motivation. So now we're going to engage in the 9-round breathing. And as I explained earlier, that this is a precursor to a more advanced meditation. So nice to start with this. And what this meditation will do when you engage in it and you become comfortable with it and you practice it, is that it will relax the body, which carries the tension from the mind, and it will relax the mind. And then you will develop meditative concentration. So you can make this meditation exclusive. You can just sit down and do this meditation, or you can use this meditation if the mind is really unruly and you want to do another meditation. You want to go on to make your mind like an ocean or like the sky, but the mind is just too unruly. So you can practice this meditation. So there are three energy, well, actually, there's a lot of energy channels in the body, but we're going to work with the three principal ones, the three principal channels. Because the winds of the body ride on these channels. And actually, they are knotted right now. They're knotted because of our confusion energy. And we want to work on relaxing them. So we'll start by visualizing the three psychic channels or tubes within your body through which the wind energy moves. Now these channels are round and hollow. They're the size of a straw. And they're very fine and smooth and flexible and luminous. So we'll start with the central channel. It's blue. And this central channel begins at a point midway between the eyebrows. Inside, not external, it's inside of the skull. And so this channel begins midway between the brows, inside. And it goes up to the top of the head and then curves around like the handle on an umbrella. And it curves down along the inside of the skull. And it travels just in front of the spinal column. And it goes down to 4 finger widths below the navel. Remember I told you about the having the thumbs. The thumbs are going to be located at approximately the same level of where we're bringing the central channel. Remember, this will all start to make more sense. This is the energy channel, and now you've got your thumbs down there. So that's the blue. Then on the right, there's a red channel, and it runs from the right nostril. Again, it goes up inside of the skull and hooks around. And now it travels down in front of the spine, right next to the blue or central channel. And it runs down and hooks into the central channel. And then the left channel is white. And it runs from the left nostril, again, inside the skull, up and hooks around like a candy cane. And then it travels down the central channel, next to the central channel, just in front of the spine. And it goes to 4 finger widths below the navel. And for this particular meditation, we're imagining that the ends of the 3 channels join together at this point of 4 finger widths below the navel. So now, just for a minute, set up this visualization in your mind. You've probably seen pictures of psychic channels in the body. And this is you. Remember, blue in the center. Red on the right, white on the left. And now hold the left nostril closed with an index finger. And inhale slowly and fully through the right nostril. And imagine that you're sending the breath, this is you're imagining it, all the way down to the end of the right channel. And then imagine that the breath flows from the right into the left channel as you move your index finger to hold the right nostril closed. And you exhale slowly and fully through the left nostril. As the breath leaves the left nostril, imagine that all impurities, such as distractions and mental dullness, they're all expelled with the breath. And then repeat this 2 times for a total of 3. Inhaling through the right and exhaling through the left, and imagining all impurities are being expelled with each out breath. You can become very vivid if you want. You can visualize that the in-breath is like a plunger, getting rid of the goop in a toilet. So you're breathing in and you're forcing out all of the crud. And then when you breathe out, you can be very visceral and imagine that all sorts of literal shit is coming out. All your hatred energy, anger energy, gone. And feel that way. Feel that the right nostril is completely clean, clear. And then reverse the process, holding the right nostril closed with your index finger. Breathe in deeply through the left nostril, sending the breath all the way down to the end of the left channel. As the breath moves into the right channel, move your index finger to hold the left channel, the left nostril closed. And exhale slowly and fully through the right nostril. And again, as the breath leaves the right nostril, imagine all impurities are expelled with the breath. And repeat 2 more times, 3 breaths in all. Inhaling through the left nostril and exhaling through the right. And then finally, inhale slowly and deeply through both nostrils, sending the air down through the right and left channels. And as you exhale, imagine that the breath is expelled up and out through the central channel. As you breathe out, imagine that you're expelling all impurities out through the point between the 2 brows. And repeat 3 times in all. And when you exhale the impurities, you visualize that they go out beyond the universe. They just vaporize. They're no longer there. And if you have any body discomforts, then exhale them. Concentrate on the energy on the point where you've got the body discomfort, and imagine that you're breathing out whatever sickness there is, whatever tension there is. And when you're finished with that round of visualizations, imagine, so you're sitting here with this beautiful posture, and imagine that those 3 channels are completely clean and luminous, and really feel it. This is such a useful meditation to do if you've got any mental confusion, if your body is sick, any kind of sickness, because now your object of concentration is to see yourself as luminous from the inside out. See the blue channel the red channel on the right, the white channel on the left. And feel that any sickness that you have, any tension that you have, any mental anguish that you have has been released. And this is our object of concentration, just to sit quietly and to see ourselves as luminous. What a concept. Now, if you were doing this practice at home and you found that you were still scattered, or if you were still distracted, then you would just do another 9 rounds, 3 on each side. But for our purposes, we're going to bring it to a natural conclusion without losing the luminosity of our being. It's so amazing to think of ourselves as luminous. And then we'll have a little discussion. So how do people, I can see a few people are still meditating. They're still luminous. How did we do with this meditation? Good. Okay, so this is another thing. Every single one of your meditations is not going to be wonderful. It just doesn't happen because there's so many things in our life that impact us. We hear something just before we sit down to meditate, and it becomes our obsession, what we just heard. So now when we practice the meditation on stabilizing the mind, this is serious business. If we have just heard something that's disturbing to us, you don't not meditate. Now you've got that distraction, that disturbance, that irritation. That's what you're not going to be experiencing. See if I make sense. The only reason we have a disturbance, a distraction, an irritation, a mental aberration is because we get on it and go with it. If the disturbance, the distraction, the mental aberration arose 1 second and went away, it's not bothering you, right? It's only bothering you if it becomes your object of concentration. So that's what I'm saying, and I've said, I hope I've said this, that if we check our life, we've been meditating all our life. But we've been meditating on the things that bring the bad results. We've been meditating on what he said, what she said, what I wish I would have said, what I'm going to say, but if, and if, or we've been concentrating and nursing all of these waves in our mind all our life. And some of them we turn into, the expression, you turn a molehill into a mountain. We do that. Or we turn a little sore on our skin into a big wound by picking at it. Well, that's what we've been doing all our life because nobody taught us how not to do that. And so our delusions, our negativities gravitate towards this problem and make it huge. But when we do the 9-round breathing or we do the counting of the breath, I call it the stable. I don't think they do, but I call it the stabilizing meditation. Because for me, that's what it does. When you do the breath, is it stabilizes the mind. So when we do this, we're giving new information. We're introducing new information into our being. I'm not a scientist, but they talk about these neural pathways. And so this is like just creating new, from what I understand, neural pathways to not be like this, but to be, can you imagine if you could hold that? Did you get the sense of luminosity? Were you able to feel some sense of luminosity from doing that meditation from the inside out, of feeling like light from the inside out? Not okay, well, keep practicing, because that is something. I mean, I found myself smiling. I mean, after running around looking for my phone, dealing with some unwanted words this morning from somebody, and then my phone, and then this, and then that, and then you sit down and do the meditation. I mean, what happens with me, I mean, I've done this before. I'll go into a meditation and I'll say, I dare you to work. And then I do the meditation and I come out of the meditation and I'm smiling. It's just something about not going with the flow of our negativity, interrupting that negativity, interrupting that obsessiveness that we have. Does anybody have obsessiveness? Where you just think the thoughts over and over and you relive things, and it becomes like a dungeon in your head. And so these meditations interrupt that. It introduces new information. It gives new habits, but you have to practice like that. So I'm not even sure how I started out. Anybody remember?
Talking about the luminosity.
Yeah, but just the value of doing these meditations in a repetitive way, so that you get the result. Oh, I know what I was going to say, was that not every meditation is a success. I mean, in not every meditation you're going to walk away feeling that luminosity or feeling that sense of peace, because the habits from the past are so strong that just your 10-minute meditation, you can't let go of the inner chaos for even 10 minutes. But that doesn't mean you don't do it. You do it. Sorry, Steve.
A cumulative effect is what we had.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. By giving new training. New training. It's just like, what they say when you fall off your horse, you don't say, that's it, I'm not riding again. You get right back on the horse and keep going. Otherwise, you'll develop a fear for riding the horse. And so what we're talking about today are the 4 parts of a meditation. But I also want to talk about the value of setting up a space for your meditation, and then honoring that space, and then making a commitment to do a meditation on some kind of regular basis. But again, you don't want to set up a commitment that you don't honor, because then it creates the habit of not honoring your commitments. So you have to make some kind of commitment that's reasonable, feasible. I mean, I took an initiation once, and you could determine, and when you take these initiations, sometimes you get a commitment for doing mantras. And they said you could determine yourself how many mantras you're committing to with this initiation. Do you know what I committed to? 1. I'm not joking. Because generally you say, oh, I'll do a mala, I'll do 2 malas. I said, I know myself well enough now. I said 1, and I pretty well do my 1 a day, my 1 a day vitamin, like that. So it's about being reasonable about what you say you're going to do. You know what the expression is, to under promise and over deliver, like that. Yeah, like that.
But Jackie, along those lines, I'm horrible at shaming myself and guilting myself out, And so I've made a commitment. I've been doing it for 6 months, right? But have been days when I'll sit down and I'm just overwhelmed. I mean, I can sit there and I can try and stay as much as I like it.
Okay,
That's not happening.
okay, that's a good point.
So, I
Okay.
remember mentioning this to Tender once when I was trying, attempting to develop this habit previously. And she said, look, at least celebrate the fact that you had the intention, right? There's merit in that too,
Yeah.
and to not.
Yes. Okay, so what you do in a case like that.
Can you recap that for, 'cause I don't think I heard.
Oh, so he was saying that sometimes he'll sit down to do a meditation, and regardless, the ability to do the meditation just isn't there. It's just not happening. And so Tendrin had said to really feel good that he had the intention to do the meditation. At least there was the thought to do the meditation. So again, this all comes back to being your own therapist and understanding your own mind. So when you're sitting in meditation and you can't get the focus that you need, you're either falling asleep, which is my big problem, because I mean, if I sit down, I fall asleep. That's just the way it goes. So falling asleep or being so distracted that you can't do what you're promising to do. So then you've got the sheet and you try to use the antidotes as much as possible. If after using the antidotes, it's just not working, then you do exactly that. You say, okay, but it's not, the important thing here is to verbalize your thought processes, to say it, not to just get up and walk away, but you say, I've done it. I came to the table. I did my best. Today is a difficult day for me. I'm so happy I tried. Tomorrow's a new day. And you leave. Because the last thing you want to do, as I've said before, is have a bad taste in your mouth from the meditating. If you sit there, you force yourself to be there, then you may not want to go back. But then you don't want to be someone who just gives yourself a bunch of excuses either. So this is where nobody's watching you. There's nobody who's watching you and condemning you or congratulating you. This is you. And you have to learn to be your own therapist. Does that make sense? It's like you have to grow up. I mean, we're used to doing things because mommy gave us a sucker or a lollipop, or, we got an A in class, or, we didn't get a ticket because we followed the instructions for driving. We're used to external rewards. This is the case where we test it out ourselves, and we know that we're learning how to take responsibility for our own mind. It's a huge thing, huge. And you have to be gentle with yourself sometimes. Sometimes the old habit patterns are so strong, or we fall into a victimization mode, or we have traumas. Trauma is a big deal. And, my father was really, he was very difficult, and he had a huge temper. And I was living with him as an adult, living in his house, and I had put the silverware away badly. I did. I mean, I just didn't really care if the salad forks were mixed in with the dinner forks. It didn't bother me, but it did bother him. And when he saw how I put away the silverware, I mean, he exploded like the roof was coming off the house with his explosion. And I had a knee-jerk reaction from being a little girl. I ran into the bathroom and was shaking because of my father's explosion. But because I had the Dharma, I was able to undo that. I was able to let go of the trauma of being my father's daughter. And I was able to insert new information of feeling compassion for my father, who had no control because the dinner forks and the salad forks were mixed together. Do you see what I'm saying? So we'll slip into our old habits of depression or sadness or any kinds of effects of trauma. Poor me, Lama Yeshe used to call it in general, poor me. We'll slip back because that habit is so old. But this new information gives us a chance to start again with a new way of thinking. Does that make sense? But it takes effort. and then you're going to fall back, and then you have to start over again. But every time you start over again, you're making new pathways for thinking, like that. That was a long answer. Was that okay? Yeah. So in other words, you're doing right, but for other people, it's verbalizing it to yourself so that you're not just being sloppy. You know, it's like you're just sitting down, it doesn't work. Oh, well, let's turn on TV. Like that. It's watching the dynamics.
So I guess to that effect, do you think it's okay to keep reading through even if you're struggling?
You can do, sure. But remember what Lama Zopa said, the example I gave you, that he said that when this one person said, well, I don't have time to think about my meditations, I'm just saying the words.
Mhm.
So I always say, when I think back about that advice, about that situation, it's better to read through the words than to go just give up. But that's not the goal, to just read the words. But trust me, there have been plenty of times, and myself, when you do, when you get initiations and you do longer meditations, it's called a sadhana. And there have been plenty of times when I just couldn't manage the whole 2-hour sadhana, and I just speed through it because I didn't want to not do it, but I wasn't doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it, but I didn't want to not do it. So you just, for the imprints, you do it like that. So, when you get, we have one more week. It's good when you bring these examples to the table and we can talk about them like that. And always, I'm very free. You've got my telephone number. If anybody needs to talk, everybody seems to have my telephone number. If Ann doesn't have it, she has it. So let me know if you have a concern and you need help with something, you need a little push. Because I remember when I came back to America after being gone for 8 years, I came back pregnant and not married. I didn't have a penny to my name. I didn't speak correct English. I didn't have clothing. It was all Indian clothing. I was really in a tough situation. And I wasn't communicating with anybody, any of my friends from my years in India. And this one lady said to me, she says, "You're so selfish." And I said, "I'm so selfish. My mother used to say, if you can't say something good, don't say anything at all." And I didn't have anything good to say. And she said, "Because if you had told us what was going on with you, we could have helped you." So she called that selfish, that I didn't give her a chance to help me. So it's like that. It's not like, you should become a person that just always complains about how you can't do your meditation. But if you've really hit an obstacle and you need someone to give you a fresh way of thinking, then you turn, that's what the Sangha is. You turn to your Dharma friends who can give you a fresh way to look at it. But you don't ask for help if you're not willing to hear the answer. That's another thing, is that you'll see a lot of people, they'll go to the lamas and they'll ask for help, and the lama will give them help, and then they don't follow the help. So that's another habit you don't want to get into. So, it's all very, very interesting, but your idea about being aware of what's going on in the mind is what it's all about.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So
Okay. So if one falls into the victim mode, which meditation do you recommend?
I always will recommend the stabilizing meditation. And I'm going to tell you why.
Counting the breath.
Counting the breath. Counting the breath. Taking your attention off of being the victim. Because when you do the stabilizing meditation, then you are undoing that habit of going with the victim mode. You can't, unless you've got a strong deity practice, where now, remember I told you that last week, my way of saying things is that you've got your stabilizing meditation, which is the basis of every other meditation. Then you've got your analytical meditation, where you move your mind into a realistic position. And then you've got your visualization meditation where you mingle your mind with your already perfect qualities. But where you start is with the stabilizing meditation, because you can't shift your car from forward to reverse without going through neutral, or you'll kill it, right? You cannot do it. If you're going in a certain direction, in order to shift directions, you better go to neutral. And when you're in neutral, now you have the ability to rethink what you were doing. Otherwise, it's an avalanche, isn't it? I mean, we get these thoughts going on, poor me, why me, always me, why not her? You know, we get these thoughts going on, and it takes a highly skilled person, highly skilled, to be able to take that thought and to shift it around into thinking about others. That takes a lot of practice. But what you can do is go from that position, which you can tell isn't helping. All you have to do is look at the tension in your body, look at your mouth. I always say, when you've got a negative something going on, go look in the mirror, because you're going to see what you look like when you're all tense and worried and you don't have anything nice coming out of your mouth, and poor me, and you're angry. Go look in the mirror. So then when you just sit down and do 5 minutes, 300 seconds of stabilizing meditation, taking your attention, that victimization mode is going to keep haunting you. But every time it does, you let it go and you bring your attention back to the object of concentration, which is the slight sensation of the inhalation and exhalation at the bottom side tip of the nose. And then it's going to call you away and you bring yourself back. And if you develop some kind of sense of inner harmony, at that point, you can make a new decision on which way you're going. But if you're heavy into the victimization mode, it's really hard to get out of it without shifting into neutral. Neutral. That's why the stabilizing meditation for me goes with me wherever I go. It goes with me wherever I go. I promise you. I'm not saying that I'm always successful, but it's my neutral position. I always go back to it. Like that. But that didn't happen. I mean, I've been practicing it for 50 years. So it didn't happen right away. But before I even met Buddhism, I went through a spell of very serious jealousy. And the fact was that there was nothing there to be jealous about. What the guy that I was living with was not having any relationship with the girl that I thought he was having a relationship with. Absolutely nothing was there. But my jealousy made it happen because of my obsessiveness and my accusation. Who wants to be with you when you're like that? Who wants to be with somebody who's jealous and constantly on top of you for doing something you're not doing? So he took refuge in her. And I made the situation happen because of how obsessed I was with something that wasn't even going on. And I happened to stumble across a mantra, and it's a Buddhist mantra. I stumbled across it in a book, and it was gone, gone, gone beyond. And I put that mantra into my head. And instead of thinking the jealous thoughts, I actually had pimples coming from my inner ickiness. And I stuck that mantra into my head. So anytime a negative thought arose, I would say this mantra. And I got rid of the jealousy, but it was only because I shifted objects of concentration. So if you're going to continue to meditate on or to focus on the thing that you've been focusing on forever that's giving you the bad results, then you're going to get the same bad results. You know what they say, what is that definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? No, it doesn't work like that. It's input, output. So if you input garbage, you output garbage. If you input wholesome, realistic, positive information, you output wholesome, realistic, positive vibrations. And that's why you can meet, if you're lucky enough to meet these beings that are called enlightened. And you see, I mean, particularly, I mean, watch a video of Lama Yeshe. I mean, unbelievable. You know, he never varied. Once we were on tour in Europe, it was like a 3-month tour. And when we got back to India, I wasn't just a piece of wet spaghetti. I was a piece of wet spaghetti completely smeared on the side of the cooking utensil. And I said to Lama afterwards, I said, do you ever go up and down? Because it was like 3 months of flat out people saying they'll do this and not doing it, this and that, 3 months. And Lama stayed completely even, and I was exhausted. So I said to Lama, do you ever go up and down? You know what I mean by up and down?
Mhm.
And Lama said, no. He said, no. And I said, why? And he said, because I understand. That was life-changing. I said, do you ever go up and down? And I was the up and down one. Lama said, no. I said, why? He said, because I understand. That's like so profound that you understand everything. You understand the nature of the mind, how the mind works, how to take care of the mind. And of course, he's emptiness. So that came from somebody's question. You're all old pros, so you get a lot of, you know, like this is a little bit deeper than we would talk in a regular meditation 101 class, because many of you have been practicing for a while. So let's move on to the, does it make sense what I'm saying? Oh, you had asked a question about that. We were started from your question. Oh, it's from your question. Oh, going into the neutral. Did that help?
Yes, I wanted to say that I found it really helpful that you said that what we're doing is shifting the object of concentration from the whatever craziness to the breathing.
Yep.
And I never made that connection, and that's really practical and
That's it.
helpful. I'll keep that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's why so when you do meditation means to familiarize, right? We're all on the same page with that. So you choose a time, a place, and you choose to do a meditation. But the point is, when that time is finished, you don't leave the meditation on your chair and get up and walk away. The whole point of the meditation is that it goes with you. You don't sit and do the 9-round breathing and feel some level of luminosity and then just shut it all down and walk away. You want to keep that level of luminosity with you. You want to keep that stable mind with you. You want to keep the understanding of making your mind like an ocean with you. And then why do you meditate again? Why do you charge your phone again? The whole point of charging your phone isn't to leave it on the docking station. It's so it gets the energy so it can go with you. And then when it gets out of energy, it goes back on the docking station. So that's what meditation is. We sit down and meditate. We do some good positive charging of energy. We get up and take it with us. And then when it starts to peter out, we do it again. Like that. So that we stay charged. And the more you do the meditation, the more you stay charged. I mean, the lamas demonstrated meditating. Probably they didn't need it, but they demonstrated continually meditating like that, continually keeping the battery charged like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so what are the 4 parts of a meditation for those that have been around for a while? What are they? When you're going to sit down and do your meditation?
I think of motivation, the bookends, motivation and dedication, and the main body.
Okay.
I'm not thinking in the.
No, that's right.
context
That's
of-
exactly right. What we're also going to add is calming the mind. Now, it's interesting because I think, even though there's the kind of this book I've got a curriculum that I was given by FPMT. I kind of do things a little bit differently, and it's not wrong. So you guys have to find your way too. They say that you should sit down and start calming the mind, and then you do your motivation, and then you do your meditation, and then you do your dedication. I actually like to do my motivation right away. That's my style, because I like to make calming the mind part of what I'm doing. But what they're saying is that because the mind is so out of control, sit down first, calm the mind, then establish your motivation. Then you do the body of the meditation, and then you do a dedication. So you called them bookends. Is that something Tendron called it, or did you come up with that?
I didn't come up with it, but I don't remember. Tendon, okay. yeah,
Tendon?
Tendon.
That's nice. I've never
Yeah.
heard that before, but that's really nice. But in that case, then you would do the calming of the breath after the setting the motivation.
Mhm.
The way they outline it in the meditation 101 is you do calming, the stabilizing meditation, then you do motivation, then you do the meditation, then you do the dedication. But I like the bookend. The bookend is my way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I interchange it sometimes, but yeah, the motivation sometimes is helpful when you have that moment where your mind is out of control.
Yeah.
Trying to remind myself why I'm sitting down in
Yeah.
the first place is helpful.
Yeah, I like that. And so, so the motivation, tell me a little bit about motivation. What would you say are the levels of motivation? We've talked about it in here. What are the levels? Well, thinking about yourself, only about yourself, and then advancing it to include others. Because the fact is that if you have to test this out. Maybe I'm making it up. I don't think so. That if you're a happy, healthier, wiser person, you can't help but influence others that way. And as this is a Mahayana center, the highest happiness comes from benefiting others. That's the premise of the Mahayana teachings. So you sit down, but I'm always a proponent of starting right where you are. I mean, you might have just completely blown it with your mother, your father, with a driver on 995. You might have just completely gone nuts over something. Okay, you're sitting down right away because you feel badly, or you feel, whatever, right there at the moment. You have a headache, you've got whatever, right there at the very moment. But then you start to work it up, So I want relief from this moment. But now we take it apart. This is me talking. This isn't in the book. But I think it's important to not be utopic, because sometimes we don't care about others. Sometimes we just don't want to be feeling crappy just right now for ourselves. Or sometimes we just have a headache that we can't get rid of, and we're really all curled up in a ball. Sometimes it's like that. So you start right where you are. You acknowledge right where you are, and then you start to build it up. And I want to be a kinder, healthier, wiser person, not just today, not just right now. I want to get off the cycle of constantly recurring problems. And I want to do it to help others. So you've got to bring your mind, it's got to be logical to you that you bring it. Because if you just sit down right away and start thinking altruistic thoughts, and you haven't done the baby steps to get there, then it's just this. You have to see that just like I have my problems right now, there isn't anybody out there who doesn't have some kind of problem. And you get so in touch with that. You get so in touch with your own situation that when you look at others, you see them differently. And you don't want them to suffer. You really don't want them to suffer. But how can they not suffer if you're still suffering? You've got to do the job first. If you don't do the job, then how can anybody else do it? You know the expression, if not you, who? If not now, when? But the important part about all this is to not have it just here, not the lips flapping. You want to make it so it comes from the heart, so that when you watch a movie and you see somebody get hurt, it breaks your heart. And you don't want them to suffer.
Tatiana had a question.
Where are you, Tatiana?
No, it's Pablo. Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
I just want to concur with what you said, that it's incredible how meditation has made me aware. And I was diagnosed with very deadly disease 4 months ago. And my journey went from what was me, why me, pity, sorrow, every selfish emotion you can have, to the first time I met you, to when I started this class. So as my journey progressed, I have learned that even though I'm here hooked up to my chemo for 8 hours a day, longer than anybody, doing the most brutal chemo, I know I would feel worse if I wasn't self-aware and meditating while I'm doing chemo. And then I find myself forgetting about my pain, because I am in pain. God willing, it's cured, but I am going through some pain. I try to help other people by making them laugh, or even teaching them how to breathe correctly while they're taking their chemo to get their blood pressure down.
Unbelievable.
And it's 8 hours, and I see maybe 15, 20 people, and I try to help at least 7 or 8 of them, not even knowing you're helping them, because you know you're going to suffer, and you know I'm gonna have 4 or 5 days, I'm gonna tear myself down, I'm gonna suffer, and then I'm gonna build myself up to I feel realistic. Well, so I'm lucky with a lot of people that have the support of you guys and my wonderful wife and my friends. But you're right, I have gone from being a total a-hole when I got this, excuse the language. So now I am really trying to help, where I woke up this morning and started my team for my PanCan, which is pancreatic cancer run or walk, to where I have like 25 people and try to raise as much money for this wonderful organization. And I'm going to suffer tomorrow, because it's chemo day. And chemo day is, but I don't make it into a suffering. I make it into a meditation. I'm going to see, I'm going to eat, I'm going to have fun.
Unbelievable.
And then I'm going to suffer those 4 days, but I've turned through meditation. I really want to say that it really does work. Forget about
That's
your
awesome.
pain.
Pablo, you've got my respect. That's really amazing.
Yes, I am.
Amazing. I know you're Tatiana told me how you were helping one lady breathe. And I thought I was so inspired. So inspired.
Really going to help people joking. I just really try to help now, knowing that I'm going to suffer, because I'm suffering, and it's not woe is me. It's just things happen, and you have to maintain. And you always told me, if you're going to die, it's when you're going to die. It's not if you're going to die. And
Unbelievable.
make the best to that point. Trust me, I don't want to die, and I'm going to fight all the way through. But I just think this really does work.
You got a crash course. That's unbelievable.
It went from 0 to 100.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing, because that's really amazing.
Thank you, and everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. So I want to mention one thing. That's, oh, sorry. Did I do something wrong?
You're fine. Don't worry.
Okay. Dedication. What's dedication? Because that's the one thing, Pablo, you want to start remembering dedicating. Okay, so what's dedication, guys?
That's the other book.
What's dedication? She goes dedicating.
Well, dedicating your merits from having done the practice to, the ideally, I guess, the betterment of, helping others and benefiting others so they can find enlightenment.
So merit is a nice word. It's very Buddhist. So in other words, what you've done by doing the meditations, by helping people, is you've created positive potential on the mind stream. That's another way of saying merit. And I think most people can understand, they don't know what merit is, but it sounds like something for the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts. Don't they have merit badges? Yeah, we should start that. We could have that. We could have merit badges. Yeah, when you do volunteer work for the center, you get merit badges. And then the parties that Nicole has can be the dedication, you know, the
Recording in
Yeah.
progress.
so okay. So
Oh my God.
So when you do these positive things, we talked about it, how we're creating a new way of thinking, a new pathway. We're opening up new pathways. So it's like when you know, water is quite powerful, actually. It doesn't appear that way when you see a drip. You know, if you just see a drip, it just looks like a drip. But that dripping for a very long period of time can make a hole where it's dripping. It can even make a hole in a rock if it drip, 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 drip. Well, that's what we're doing, is our habits are as strong as granite because let's just not even talk about last lives, just this life, we've been practicing these poor me things so that we have these habits of poor me so strong. And then the meditations are like the drip, drip, drip of the water on granite. Eventually, these meditations are going to start to make an impact. So that is every time we do the meditation, every time we get up and walk away, remembering the meditation, every time we start to get agitated and we don't go with the agitation, but we go with the breathing, all of this is creating a positive potential on the mind stream. When we sit in meditation, we're creating positive potential on the mind stream. So the final thing you do when you finish your meditation, so you start with motivation, you do your stabilizing meditation, you do the body of the meditation, and the body of the meditation can be the stabilizing meditation. Then you dedicate. And if you don't dedicate, it's like filling up a balloon, particularly, you know, those little balloons that the little kids have for their parties, not the big balloons that you just go like this and stretch it out and then you blow it up. You know, these little tiny round ones that you blow and blow and blow, and finally you get a little bit of air in it. If you don't tie the knot, what happens? It's gone. If you don't dedicate, it's the same thing. So dedicating is, you know, we've worked hard. You know, we're combating these old habits. We're doing it gently. We're doing it simply. We're doing it repetitively. We're creating new habit patterns. If we don't seal it in, put a bow on it, it's not ours. It goes right away. It's like the balloon that the air just goes in it, and the balloon goes all over the room as the energy is exhaled out of the balloon. So all the energy that we've created, all the positive potential that we've created with our meditation, we have to seal in with a dedication. Does that make sense?
A way to reinforce that, bow to all four directions and thinking what you're doing by dedicating.
Yeah, you can do like that. Sure. Okay, sorry guys, I got really talking. We have to do a quick meditation. So this is a good meditation to follow on from when we did the 9-round breathing and we were feeling the luminosity. So establish your meditation posture. Remind yourself that you're doing this meditation for yourself and so that you could be a person better qualified to help others. And then just quickly put your attention on your breath. Breathe normally. Breathe naturally. and experience the inhalation and the exhalation. And now as you exhale, imagine that all your negative energy, all your past mistakes, all your distorted conceptions, all your disturbed emotions leave your body with the breath. So every time you exhale, visualize this. And as you exhale again and again, feel confident that you are gradually freeing yourself from the traces of negativities, traces of faults, traces of sickness, and traces of delusions. And this is really good if you do have a sickness. Just visualize that as you breathe out, that sickness is chipping away, and piece by piece, you're breathing it out. If you've got mental aberrations, depression is really difficult, but it's not impossible. Just breathe out the depression. With every exhalation. And feel confident. This is important. You just don't do the visualization without feeling the results. So feel confident that your little meditation is having great results. And then as you inhale, now that there's room, you've starting to get rid of all the inner crud. Imagine that all the positive energy in the universe enters your body with the breath in the form of pure, radiant white light. And visualize this light flowing through your nostrils, down into your body, and to every part and corner of your body, pervading every cell, every atom, every organ. And as you inhale this clear, bright, white, radiant light, your body gradually becomes clearer and clearer, lighter and lighter, and more transparent. You feel more and more relaxed. You feel light. You feel blissful. And this is your meditation. You are now familiarizing yourself with this visualization. And you're concentrating on the experience, breathing out the black smoke of your problems, of your illnesses, of your negative energies, and breathing in the white light of purifying, blissful, good energy. And we'll do this just for 1 minute. If you find that your concentration isn't stable, if you have feelings or sensations or other input from the environment, just simply observe them. Don't react. Don't get involved with the distractions. In fact, you can transform them into black smoke and breathe them out into oblivion. So do one final exhale where you breathe out all your sickness, all your negativities, all of your problems, and then do an inhale where you breathe in bright, white, healing energy, and hold that feeling of being free from sickness and negativities and being oneness with positivity, with wholesomeness. So we've spent an amazing day today. The time just flew by as we engaged in this very positive conversation and practice. Really positive energy was created today amongst all of us. Really recognize that. Recognize how you had to get up early. Maybe you missed breakfast. Really recognize all of the effort that you put into being here today and practicing these mindful meditations. And see yourself as becoming a better and better person. See yourself as more peaceful in life. And as you see yourself being more peaceful, see yourself sharing that peace and well-being with others in every moment of every day, even just by breathing. How wonderful that would be. So feel in the depths of your heart, feel a very strong, profound sense of divine pride. This isn't worldly pride that compares you with anybody else. This is you knowing that you are doing the best job you can, considering the circumstances. And let that feeling of divine pride warm up your whole heart and let it radiate into your whole being. So that every part of you feels delicious. And then don't let go of this feeling of being empty of the negativities and completely union oneness with the positivity. You're going to hold that feeling as you relax your body and mind. But remember to seal in all the imprints. May the precious mind of compassion, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. I want to thank everybody